And what is the deal, folks? Thanks for hanging out with us. It is your boy, Professor G. MarkGray. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Don't forget, you can check me out on Sports Rap Network Mondays through Fridays from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. in the East Coast time zone. And then again from 6 to 8, which it is out west. And even, with all the stuff that's going on, and we're going to get to the World Baseball Classic a little bit later on down the line. We got a ton of NBA stuff to talk about. But yesterday gave me some perspective on just the arrogance that we're dealing with this new generation of college basketball talent. And I can't make excuses for players like Darren Peterson out in Kansas, nor can I make any excuses anymore for a guy like Chad Baker-Mazzara at USC. I mean, these are older. Well, in Peterson's case, he's a freshman. He's immature. He's probably getting bad advice from his parental units or guidance or handlers, whoever you want to look at it is right now. They're guiding him in a way that is devaluing him in his draft stock. If you get a little cramp there, then you should sit out because you don't want to do anything to damage your draft stock. All the while, he looking like a soft-ass wuss. I mean, and that's what it is right now. You can call it what it is. He's cramping. Dude, you got the best medical care in college basketball at Kansas. Let's be clear about that, bro. The real deal is when you are playing at a school like Kansas, but let's use Kansas as the example anyway. That's the number one pro entertainment in the state. You got everything, okay? And that's just how it is. But this dude always been cramping up. So we figured that we finally put that soft nonsense in the Big 12 to bed. Oh, let's just now go to USC's Chad Baker-Mazzara. Now, I mean, it's one thing to quit on the program. It's another thing to quit on the teammates. And I know he's a great physical talent. I know that he's one of those people that is projected to be a star. But I mean, damn, this dude has been in college for 6 years and he's played at 5 different schools. Okay, let's be clear about something. He like the woman that wants to be married, but is always looking for a way to get a divorce. All right? And it's just amazing. Dude was named, I mean, his stuff goes way back now. Okay? And according to the New York Times and a couple of other sources, as I dug deeper into this thing, I mean, this dude went to Duquesne in Pittsburgh and started 13 of 15 games as a freshman. Well, that didn't work out for him there. So he went all the way across the country to San Diego State and was named Mountain West Sixth Man of the Year. Oh, that wasn't good enough for him, okay? Then he has to go to Northwest Florida State, which is a JUCO. So he goes from major college at Duquesne as a freshman. He was in the Mountain West, as a sophomore, and then left to go to junior college. Look, I don't know how or whether or not the NBA has a cray-cray meter, one of those meters where you put like one of those electric things on somebody's index finger and it starts going off if you're crazy. That's Chad Baker-Mazzara right now. I hate to be this about that. And then, a couple years, he was third team all SEC, like in 2025, and was a big factor in a team that went to the Final Four. So what has happened to this douche? I mean, really, what has happened to him? I'm tired of these privileged, paid-ass, unforgiving, disrespectful, college basketball players. And again, I get the market is correcting itself now. All right. For decades, the NCAA and the whole college sports infrastructure was front like it was like helping kids to go pro in something other than sports, but it also was putting them on the edge where if coach didn't like how you were playing, he could take your scholarship and you had to rebuild your life. Okay, we at two different extremes right now. The market is certainly correcting from the years of tyranny, but this ain't the generation, quite frankly, that deserves the benefits that they're getting. And I'm going to blame you parents. I am. I was talking to a lady a few weeks ago who was distraught because her kid, as a freshman in high school, didn't make the grades, so he couldn't even play Jay-Z. You would have thought life was over. He's got to get a scholarship in order to go to college. I don't know how I'm going to pay him, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's be clear about something. First off, in the ninth grade, any reasonable coach is going to watch the developmental process of said child as they're moving along and advancing it with their basketball skills the way they should be advancing in real life skills. But see, here's the dilemma that we face right now. This intoxication with celebrity and athletes are creating monsters out of babies. That's right. This is when you see what's happening with Darren Peterson and Chad Baker-Mazzara. Now, it's one thing to get hurt. It's another thing to go back into the locker room and to get hurt. But you got to be a complete and total jackass with no character whatsoever to come back out after whatever happened or was said to you by Eric Musselman, the coach at USC. Dude, you're going to do this at USC. You're in the second largest media market in the United States. And you have just branded yourself a cream puff. And I'm really sanitizing my verbiage because I want more parents and students to hear and see what I'm saying. Just because you got a significant amount of basketball pros, and truth be told, there is some kind of pimp-ass agent type that will get you a look, and that's fine. But there are responsibilities that go with your celebrity. There are responsibilities when you become a pro athlete. And just because you can put the ball in the basket doesn't mean you're worthy. And I'm telling you, a guy like Chad Baker-Mazzara, if he is drafted by your favorite team, will sit you back immensely. Immensely. That's a dude that needs to rebuild his brand in the G League. I don't care how good it is. Or ship his ass overseas. Because these kids don't want it. They want to get paid. They want to get guaranteed money. And then they want to, pull down their pants and do a number two on their coach, on their program, and then they're going to carry that mindset to the association, and that's going to ruin the league, right? So, again, I hope Chad Baker-Mazzara never plays another game of meaningful, organized basketball in the United States. I said it because what he did, right, if it were a conventional, let's use it, the realm of the law and order, the legal system. And we got to get a law and order sounder here too. But to me, this is feloniously criminal on the basis of, your place in society. You got a wonderful opportunity to sit yourself up for the rest of your life, and you can't play by the rules. If you can't play by the rules, you don't deserve to get yours. Okay? These punks trying to beat the system. It's bad enough you can make NIL money and be one and done and go to the league. Now you want to make NIL money, and then you want to quit on your team. But to come back out, I mean, and it's funny. Darren Peterson went into the locker room after having a big first half, right? And he comes back out with cramps, and they can't loosen the cramp. Really? Now, again, I don't know if he's got, dehydration problems or something like that. But if that's the case, then, I got to look at your future in something other than professional sports. And that's real. I know tons of kids. I was at the CIAA basketball tournament, a Division II HBCU event. okay? I'm telling you right now, there ain't a kid in that conference on a bench that's not giving it his all opportunity, and they ain't getting paid. All right? And I know the condescension will be, oh, they HBCUs. Look, it's about character. And see, the Baker-Mazzara thing is where I have to get nationalistic about it, because in these times where my country is under siege and we having to go through doors that are putting our communities in harm's way, to give a Dominican player an opportunity to rep and make a better life for himself, and he's just going, excuse my expression, bitch out on his teammates. And there's no excuse for that. Okay, remember back in the day, the Tim Hanks movie, A League of Their Own. There's no crying in baseball. There's no quitting in basketball. Not when you just got a cramp. Now, again, a woman's cramp is different than a man's cramp, so I don't want to, bring the women into this conversation, but quite frankly, the women are showing up. I haven't seen too many women that were just taking license because they got cramps or they're tired. They got beef with their coach because they're gonna sing with the fans. No, it's not happening. And it's pathetic and it's disgraceful. And the NCAA or state policies have to come along to make sure that these kids right now who are pimping the NIL system, you walk off the floor, I guess the school don't have to pay you or whatever, but you still have cashed a few big checks. And this just speaks, I'm sorry, to an irresponsible, privileged society. Somebody got epic talent or beautiful looks, or they come from a famous family. They can be worthless sacks of crap as human beings, and we're supposed to revere them as stars. What we need, and I'm hoping that it happens in the next year or so, because we already at the end of the college football season. Remember, student athletes are basically paid employees. You keep getting behaviors like this. If I can't get you to come back out after the half, like with Peterson, could that got a cramp? Your ass is fired. Period. All right? And I hate to channel my inner Trump apprentice voice, but here it is. The time has come for them to be punitive damages when players want to use their license to just pick up their ball and quit. You done made put all this investment in them as a school. You've traveled them, you've got them qualified, you gave them room and board, you're giving them a salary on that, you're giving them a great workplace intern opportunity. I know in the academic world, when I teach, we call them experiential learning. And that's what you're doing as a student athlete. So the moral to the story is somebody got to fix the system. It damn sure ain't in the NCAA. All right. I think you're going to have to get the states and feds involved right now, because while I'm for kids getting theirs, I'm for kids getting theirs and earning it. And if this nonsense that the Baker-Mazzaras are continuing to try to pull, the Darren Petersons, it's going to ruin intercollegiate athletics. Okay. That's what it is. So y'all wanted the money, you're getting the money. You figure you should have basic free agency? You got that. Call the transfer portal. Earn your goddamn money. Or get the hell on. Because the games and March Madness are still gonna continue. And we don't need any blemishes on you by you soft-ass wuss. It is your boy, Professor G, MarkGray. It's OG Sports Rap on Sports Rap Network and Substack. Remember, download the Sports Rap Network app, because we all we got. Now, I'm not going to be that dude who is going to just bombard you with every moment of NFL rumors that continue to infect, like, say, the countdown to March Madness, perhaps. How about, let's say, the countdown to the NBA playoffs? Certainly. All right. So, we've come out of the underwear Olympics. Now we're getting into let's devalue the livestock phase of the NFL draft process, because for as much as the league wants to tell you how great and talented these players are, they're definitely looking to devalue them between now and draft day with something like, I don't know, well, he's got a hangnail. If he's got a hangnail now, how do we know that we can pay him a number 5 player's salary because his nails could get hanged? They do stuff like that. Oh, well, his arms are only 33 and a quarter. And we need somebody who's like 35. So that's the kind of stuff that goes on with the NFL and the devaluing the picks. And again, now that we finished the All Olympics, you know what I'm saying? Under Armour, the male lingerie capital of the NFL draft, right? Good job out of them. And you know something, to Kevin Plank, an alumni Terp. I'm just a staff Terp, but, got to pull for the homeboys, platform or whatever. But I digress. My whole thing is this, right? The NFL process is about devaluing talent. What I'm looking at right now in terms of college basketball, the players are devaluing their own talent. But in the association, I will say this. There's some players who are truly beginning to grow on me, okay? And I will say Malika Andrews, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she's one of the worst interviewers in the game. Although her interview with Zion Williamson, which was cut into snippets, I would have loved to have seen the raw video. It was kind of eye-opening, if you ask me, about a dude who, when he left Duke, I'm thinking a cross between like Charles Barkley and LeBron. I mean, because he's a freakish athlete with a big body. He could get up and down the floor, but he was a little chunky. Still, he got it in, but he was chunky. He gets to the NBA, pardon me, his, chunk in the trunk seemed to weigh him down, and his legs and his feet were going. And I'm sitting there thinking that here's a guy in New Orleans who's living a good life, who's eating the best of food. And again, I don't know how you can do it down there, because everything down there is rich. And if you love to eat, it is damn heaven. Okay? And I get that. And I would much rather have the young man enjoy the French Quarter cuisine more so than the French Quarter beverages. There's a former quarterback named Ken Stabler who, left the Oakland Raiders to play for the New Orleans Saints so he could come back to SEC country. And, let's just say carousing got in the way of him leading the Saints to their first Super Bowl. They had to wait about, 15, 20 years after that for a guy named Drew Brees, but it did, in fact, work out for him. All right. So here we are in the in the NBA right now. And this week's power rankings came out today. And believe it or not, the Pistons stay ranked number 1 in terms of the power rankings. And as much as I'm on them, they are a work in progress. I'm trying to figure out what puts all this burden. I mean, and again, they're 45-14. Okay? Barring a miracle of biblical clout, the Pistons are going to win 60 basketball games. So they're going to be the number 1 seeded team in the Eastern Conference. But you got to go a long way to convince me that they're better than Oklahoma City, especially now that they're getting SGA back. And I think that, the revolving door of injuries to that team's big 3 has kind of filtered our perception of the fact that They've been there. They've done that. They still the champs. In case you've forgotten, OKC is still the champs. And they're getting healthy. My question would be with them in defense of their championship is just how healthy Chet Holmgren is. How much time can he give them in the playoffs? A little concerned about the length of time that Jalen Williams was on the bench, and will he be fully healed? But for the Pistons, as we speak, 45-14, securely in the East, number one seed. But when I still compare the depth, and the East has in fact caught up. When you consider, according to the power rankings that I'm looking at, and everybody's got a power rank, okay? You got to find the outlet that you trust to, lead you or guide you the way. I'll say this on the record. I'm an Associated Press guy. Given this perilous time of fake news, I'm going to ride or die with the Associated Press for sports, news, and especially politics. And this was not a commercial announcement. Anyway, Oklahoma City, they get healthy, and that's my question. Can you stay healthy? And this is the dilemma that I think Adam Silver is always talking about when he starts talking about shortening the league, of the season, pardon me. Maybe 82 games and crazy travel or something. If you could dial it back to maybe 60, right, and have a couple extra layers of playoffs, that would be the time where, all right, we'll do that fake in-season tournament thing to give the scrub teams an opportunity to play for postseason. I'd like to see that become a component. All right. If you win the in-season tournament, then in addition to the extra money, you kind of gifted a at-large spot in the postseason, which would force teams to play harder during the regular season because you don't get that automatic spot that everybody else would be, hating on you because you didn't win anything. Well, I won the in-season tournament, and these are the rules. Okay? I think that there's some ways that the NBA could reduce the number of regular season games and still make the money with playoff loot. Now, individual teams who are scrub teams would then just have to stop tanking. All right, that's one way to me if you get rid of tanking. Hey, let's really ratchet up and make the in-season tournament mean something. Because guess what? And maybe you give it a few more games. So instead of cutting it from, say, 82 games, make it 70. But what we're looking at right now, a lot of teams breaking down, a lot of kids still young breaking down. There's no reason for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be breaking down. He's not even 30 years old. He don't have that much time in the game. Anyway, third-ranked team in terms of the power rankings right now is San Antonio Spurs, who, until somebody can figure out a way to contain Victor Wembanyama, and people are like looking at, Houston as the team, and no, that's a bad matchup for them. They have nobody in the post that can stop Wemby. The Lakers have nobody in the post that can stop Wemby. Denver, nobody in the post that stops Wemby. So for Oklahoma City to be, and they are the world champs. I am not disrespecting them at all. And worthy of a repeat if their bodies stay healthy. But they ain't a damn team going to do a thing with Victor Wembanyama when he healthy. I'm serious. He is the beast of my lifetime. He will eclipse Shaq. I never thought I'd see a more dominant force in the NBA other than Shaq. Never thought I would see it. Shaq was incredible because I don't know if he's quite as tall as Wilt Chamberlain, but Wilt Chamberlain was a great athlete for his day. Those days were different than when Shaq was a great athlete too. Okay. Now, Kobe had beef because he didn't want, and Kobe even said this on TV, that he had beef with Shaq because he knew what Shaq could do and he wasn't always in tip-top shape. But I think Shaq respected him for that. Still, Wemby is the most dominant presence in pro basketball since Shaq O'Neal. I'll say it. I'll ride or die with it, and I'm going to go down punching. But I haven't seen anything like this. And I mean, Nikola Jokic, variety of moves, unstoppable, but he's not going from the top of the key in 2 steps and dunking on people. Okay? Even Michael wasn't doing that. Michael was taking off from the free throw line and soaring and dunking. We got to talk about Michael in our next segment, because that man is doing the damn thing in NASCAR. But again, we're talking hoops here, and I'll come back to a little bit more of this on the other side. See, suddenly everybody's catching up to what I said at the beginning of the season, that Jaylen Brown would be an MVP candidate. He lead Boston to perhaps the top of the East Division, and as cordial and as smooth as he's been all season. Man, look, I can guarantee you when he saw his dog, Jason Tatum, go down, he went into beast mode to train to get himself into a position where they could get back to the finals. And he knew if he could lead them there, I think he kind of deep down inside knew that if we can get Jay back and just get 20 minutes out of him, I'll get us home. So while everybody got this eye candy in front of them, as well you should, Wemby in San Antonio, SGA in Oklahoma City, the new cute girl in the room, no offense, fellas, are the Pistons. I mean, they hot. So they like the TLC back in the day, you know. Ain't nobody too proud to beg, but they for real. No doubt about it. But I just can't. And the craziness about that is I'm still heavily favoring San Antonio, but they just got whooped by the Knicks. And last time out, a 25-point whipping. And again, what does that mean? See, down the stretch, the pundits who have to make commentary to fill segments are going to continue to talk about how the Knicks beat the Spurs and now they match up with them. They don't. Okay? They don't. And I'm a Knicks fan. You don't want to see Wemby. You do not want to see Wemby. And sooner or later, no matter what Kendrick Perkins calls big body Brunson, the Knicks got to do a better job of protecting him. Okay? He has to play too physical a game and then be expected to do that through the playoffs. And again, you know, I had that beef with Tom Thibodeau. This is the fan in me talking. I'm transparent about the teams that I want to win. All right. The problem I had with both Tibbs and Mike Brown, Brunson should not be having to run the offense and be the first option on the offense. And you talk all you want about that cat, Karl Anthony Towns stuff. They're asking a guy who's small in stature but tough as a beef. Pound for pound, I don't think I've seen anybody tougher in the league, not named Allen Iverson, than I've seen with Jalen Brunson. No disrespect, Mike. All right? But he can't hold up. And I think he'll be worn down by the time he gets to the playoffs. And that's going to be the Knicks' demise, because I don't think Karl Anthony Towns can put the team on his back and carry them. Anyway, that's your boy, Professor G. Starch. What say you? Find me all over the place in cyberspace on social media at The Sports Group, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Substack. But there, it's Sports Rap OG. This is Sports Rap Network. Download the mobile app. We all we got. There's nothing like the frigid, dark days of early March to let you know that baseball is right around the corner on the East Coast. Professor G. MarkGray back with you. It's OG Sports Wrap on the network. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And follow me on Substack at Sports Wrap OG as I proceed to give you what you need so you can make responsible decisions and analyze just how bad your favorite team is and what they must do to get better. Although I got to be honest with you, not that I'm the fan of the Wizards, but being here my entire life, so to speak, I've watched them, and I'm like, wow, this whole Trae Young thing might be a little bit interesting when you start pairing them with guys like Bub Carrington. But as they get ready for another off-season without playoffs, we got the World Baseball Classic starting tomorrow. All right. And now, again, it starts tomorrow in China. Tokyo. And it'll run 13 days. This is the sixth time in a row that they've done it. It's a pretty good way for players to lock in and play meaningful pressure baseball games in spring training. And there are a lot of people who go around to these spring training facilities to watch their teams practice, and then they sit out there and they watch fake baseball at its worst. Yeah, you're not playing to win. You're playing to evaluate until you get to later in the season. And what's the pie in the sky at the end of the game? Nothing. You got a fake win. Doesn't count for anything. Although this year, Big Brother's going to start watching pitchers and home plate umpires. And you're going to have mechanical balls and strikes called. And as much as I hate the mistakes that the umpires make, you got to be ready for delays in the system because there are always delays with the system of technology before they get it right. Now, if they get it right, it'll be just like a video game. You can see what's a strike and what has not been called a strike with the new strike boxes that they put on your television screen. So in real time, you got your own aspect of what a strike is. And now, if the umpire doesn't see it that way, the eye in the sky will probably supersede. And again, I say probably because I don't know if you have to challenge to get that strike or whether or not there's going to be like a buzzer that kind of calls out the umpire for being wrong. Now, it'll be interesting to see how that particular scenario plays out as we head towards the start of the season. But it is supposed to be implemented in this World Baseball Classic thing. And, this is supposed to be the next biggest tournament before the Olympics, if we have a Summer Olympics, if there's a world by the time we're supposed to have a Southern Olympics. But I digress. Yeah, we got 4 pools of 5 teams, and the 2 teams from each pool, the top 2 teams from each pool are going to advance to the finals. Now, when you start looking, look, you're playing the finals in the United States. With all due respect to the other nations who are coming here, and for everybody, I'm just going to say this, and I don't mean this mockingly. Make sure you got your papers with you. I'm serious. I think we've got to a time in this country where who's to say on some just blatant, irresponsible nonsense that a player from, say, Cuba, Panama, Colombia, Mexico, Dominican Republic. Then again, if I'm a Venezuelan player right now, I'm feeling pretty good about my stay here. But the moral to the story is these guys have to play under pressure that's not associated with the game now, which sickens me, right? this is supposed to be the sport, the national pastime. I really dig the international flavor because it kind of jump starts baseball season. And I'm kind of with that. But the whole notion that we can truly enjoy the games this year without this hovering political cloud cannot be underscored. And given how irrational ICE has become, I mean, remember, they have killed a woman by shooting her in the face. And they killed a man for trying to help somebody on the street. Who's to say they wouldn't feel empowered enough to take advantage of people who, A, don't speak the language that well, and B, may have forgotten their paperwork. This is a very big concern for me as it relates to being a baseball reporter and a baseball fan. Okay? I mean, I would hate to see an embarrassing escapade derail a team's season. And from what we've seen, the narcissism and the arrogance of Homeland Security, who knows what may jump off then. This is a really big concern, and I'm wondering right now, has Major League Baseball even thought about that? And this is the dilemma right now that is certainly facing the players, all right, who have to set up a new strategy to go to the bargaining table and negotiate a fair, balanced, equitable, and, collective bargaining agreement that they've been all under, minus Tony Clark. And I will say this, in his credit. One of the questions that was asked of him last year when you had some players who were mistaken while on road trips, and he was quick to tell them they were constantly being reminded to always have their paperwork with them, which has to just bring incredible, incredible stress, not only to them and their families. And as we approach this baseball season with, let's just say the loose negligence, shall we call it, of, Homeland Security, ICE agents, who's to say they wouldn't take somebody out? And again, this is where you don't need any warrant comes in. So you got to have your papers. And what happens if you've got an English barrier right there? So the scenario that scares me the most for primarily the, darker Hispanic athlete, which is not saying that Asians wouldn't get hazed too either, but you don't speak the language and you don't understand when somebody is giving you what they would consider to be a lawful order. They take that because of your complexion of your skin and attack you. You try to defend yourself, but you're defending yourself in your native language. I just want to know, have those scenarios been thought about, not by baseball, but by Homeland Security, the Justice Department? I mean, you got a ton of athletes over here from other countries right now. And you're going to have to, and they are contributor to the billionaires that are lining your pockets, and those are assets for his teams. So how are you going to handle that? And the last thing this administration needs right now is an embarrassing circumstance where, Pash-Me to Cash Patel decides he wants to, because he seems to be a guy that wanted to be an athlete and always got cut. So now he's going after athletes. And if you want to say that gambling schemes that are tied to mafia bosses, okay. Now, I hope you're that vigilant as it relates to now finding sleeper cells. I mean, if you can drag out, illegal gambling ring, we're not saying that you shouldn't take them down because gambling is legal in just about any other state and they're paying taxes. The underworld means you could be unlifed. if you can't pay back. All right. So I get that aspect of the deal. But clearly, the vulnerable people in the summertime, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be team security. Every team has team security. They coordinate traffic routes and stuff like that in order to make sure that the buses are safe and the players can transmit. That is a unified thing. So it's very difficult to get the players when they are traveling as a group. But all men don't eat at the same diner. And again, I'm only going by track records of what I've seen in Minneapolis. There's not a damn thing you're saying about what went down in Minneapolis that could not have been prevented if cooler heads had prevailed. And see, we can't let the hardworking citizens who are being harassed and beat down, right, to be forgotten. But when it starts getting hot, people start getting frustrated. Those ICE agents were thinking that they were going to get a $50,000 signing bonus. And the way I understand it is they will get that signing bonus if they're with ICE 4 or 5 years. So you got a lot of people who are amped up and on some crazy stuff and who are not getting paid. Whew. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But we saw last year there were setups outside Dodger Stadium, and the Dodgers had to flex back on Homeland Security. I mean, what kind of image can you have as America's national pastime in this, quote, wholesome, baseball, hot dogs, apple pie world that some people live in? And then you've got, what do you call it, detaining areas before they take people to detaining centers. It's just crazy. It really is. And again, and I hope that, the Hispanic population, the players in particular, who do bring us flavor and fun to the game, my friends. I mean, the game is, flourishing these days. A lot of it has to do with the contributions of, the foreign players now. But when a guy's facing all kinds of issues and looking to make points and deflect attention from serious matters, look at where we're at. I mean, anything's possible these days. And sometimes when people are taking a tyrannical approach towards leading the republic, they will allow their departments to do tyrannical things. And again, I'm not suggesting that I have any information saying it's going to go down for real like that. But this is another circumstance that, in this case, the foreign, primarily Hispanic players, I would assume, have got to keep their head on the swivel and keep their papers with them. And that has to constantly be reinforced. And that was something that Tony Clark was out ahead on. And I'm hoping that, the powers that be continue to remind those young guys, you can't slip up. Because one little slip up, the way that ICE agents are rolling these days, you could be dead or, believe it or not, something worse. And the next thing you get is, oops, my bad. I ain't need no warrant. It is your boy, Professor G. MarkGray. It is OG Sports Rap on the network. Remember, download the mobile app. We all we got. This comes to us from our Grief Come Too Damn Early file. Haven't had a chance to really take a deep dive into it until right now. But your heart has to ache at this moment for the University of Colorado football program, who on Sunday lost their starting quarterback, Dominique Ponder, in a single car crash And the dude was only 23 years old. And he was reportedly driving a Tesla when he lost control on a curve and hit a guardrail, according to reports from the Colorado State Patrol. And I just want to stop right there and say, you know something? This is the best and the worst of NIL. The best is the fact that the kid could be 23. He could have a car like a Tesla. He was going to be a Division I starting quarterback. I mean, this was a kid who had begun his career at an HBCU in Daytona Beach, Bethune-Cookman, and it seemed like life was ahead of him. And just like that, it's gone. The car struck an electrical line pole and rolled down an embankment, according to Associated Press. This game is bigger than football. It's bigger than NIL. This is just a gut-wrenching tragedy. And among the things that I know to be the case with college programs, they do have financial literacy and counseling available so that players don't blow all of their money at one time. But we consistently are now seeing that a lot of these guys who get these cars, who aren't ready to drive these cars, find themselves getting in trouble in these cars. Even Shedeur Sanders, to his credit, I think he was rolling on Colorado's campus with the rolls or something. You know, why are you going to flex like that? Now, again, it's not the time to admonish anybody, because when a young, gifted, and talented athlete or anyone loses their lives, it is an insurmountable tragedy. And let me just be the first to offer up condolences to his parents, you know, siblings if he has any, all the people in his circle, even the players who talked about how he was the type of dude that was really giving, not a problem child. But let's be real for a second. The police have already said that speed was a factor. We haven't heard anything about intoxication. It was just pure speed. I don't think the kid was drinking because, and again, I could be wrong and I'm pretty sure there will be or should have been by now a toxicology report. Nothing has been reported about that. However, it is about the speed. So here we go. The ingredients to a premature unlife. NIL money, Tesla automobile, a kid that feels the need for speed that's too great for him. Remember that? And I believe it was Top Gun back in the day. And to me, that was the movie that probably put Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer on the map. I mean, well, I guess Cruise was on the map after Risky Business, but to me, it was definitely one that, Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise, were cruising his F-16 jets. And it was like, I feel the need for speed. And therein lies why we've lost Ponder. Ponder wanted to go too fast. And it just takes me back, and I don't mean to be trivial about this, but I heard the late, great Al McGuire, who was, to me, he was a better version of Dick Vitale, only because he didn't go so far over the top with the gimmicks. Al just had humorous one-line wit, KG savvy, street smarts, and he was quick. And so there would be times where he and Marv Albert would do games together, and it was virtuoso. And he would talk about how, when he would go around the camps, he would tell people the story about his friend Nick Romano, whose motto was live fast, die young, drive a nice car. Bang. absolutely crushing, heartbreaking. But see, here's the thing, that when you giving these kids checks, which can be as much as 5 figures per month. There are some kids that are making $30,000 a month as intercollegiate athletes, and you give them that, and there's so many different ways they want to go. And let's be clear, when you at a place like Colorado, as big as that campus, I'm sure is, it's probably the size of a small town in America by itself. I can see how one would need transportation, but a Tesla that can go that high, I want to know what model it was. I think it's even more amazing that, well, and we don't know this because we all know that Teslas have had a checkered past. Okay, not to be taking a shot, but let's be real. They have, these are electric cars. And I'm going to put it out there. Sometimes when you're dealing with electric vehicles and motor power, as opposed to gasoline-powered vehicles, there could be something that went out of control. And Teslas have been known to either go out of control or malfunction. Okay? Now, one could make an argument that going out of control would be malfunctioning, but we're not going to, get into semantics here. This is just absolutely a horrific tragedy. A young kid in the prime of his life, enjoying his life and losing his life because he felt the need for speed. Too much speed. And, I don't know how you pick up the pieces if you're a friend, but, they football players that rally the troops. I'm sure he'll be certainly a rallying cry. And you say what you want about Coach Prime. He is a man of religious principles. So I'm pretty sure he'll counsel them in that regard. But you just feel bad that a kid who had so much experience ahead of him will never get to enjoy what may have been destined for him. Anyway, this is a difficult one to deal with, to talk about, but we got to face it. Sometimes as parents, you can't let your child get what they want. Okay? Sometimes you got to, intervene or admonish to the point that they think twice about doing it. And I would hope that that's not the case. I hope that the parents hadn't spoken to him about the dangers of that vehicle and how to drive it, and he brushed it off with what we would call youthful naivete, but my elders would call being hard-headed. And this is one of those things where you don't want to trivialize it at all, because it's totally much bigger than anything that's happening on the field right now or could happen later on. But it should be noted that, it only takes 1 year for things to go left and people start wondering about whether or not you can coach. And there's a big question about Coach Prime, who's only 16 and 21 through 3 seasons at University of Colorado. And, every single year you seem to have more turnover than you do retention. He has mastered the art of building programs through the transfer portal. He is NIL king. He is a tremendous personality and salesman. To me, even if it doesn't work out, I'd be looking to put him on College Game Day with Coach Saban or one of those other platforms, and he would kill it. But we understand that he still wants to coach, and he can coach. Make no mistake about it. We remember the 9-4 campaign in 2024. Okay, but last year, Prime's team was only 3-9, and he gutted the entire coaching staff. Okay? Now, again, this is a seminal season for Prime. 5 games below 500 as a coach in 3 seasons. Folks, I understand he's an electric, magnetic personality, and he did a lot of things, but he was fortunately, when he got there first, he had Travis Hunter, who was the number 1 pick in the draft, and he had a quarterback that's on somebody's bench in the NFL, and had he been done right in Cleveland, who knows how good he could have been. But that's where we are right now. You know, how do you think this season will be impacted, A, if you're a Colorado fan, by the loss of your quarterback, and then B, will the natives be getting restless still? You know, and I mean, let's be clear about something here. These aren't the days of Bill McCartney and Darian Hagan and Cordell Stewart and all those guys. You know, hell, Eric Bieniemy was running back there in his own right even before he became this great offensive coordinator when calling plays for Patrick Mahomes. Just saying. But still, I mean, you can't put the fact that the quarterback, who you were banking on to start, I might add, was speeding in a car. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that maybe one of the perks to get him there was that he could get himself a Tesla that he wanted, and he had it. And I'm not going to say he abused it, but it certainly did, in this case, fatally cost him. He'll never be back. Now, again, there's the, oh, God, this is so terribly emotional for us moment. But then that puts the ball in the administration's hands. And we're talking about Colorado. We're not talking about a state that's liberal, okay, or all that liberal. I mean, they have been smoking weed in a Rocky Mountain High for a long time. But the point I'm trying to make is it puts Prime finally under a negative college microscope heading into next season. Now, I don't know what he can do to change the vibe of a team coming out of a 3-9 losing record season. I mean, you had to gut the coaching staff, all your NFL guys who you thought, like Warren Sapp, were going to be, you know, tremendous as coaches because they were tremendous as players. That's never a guarantee. Okay? So, in the words of Ricky Ricardo from the days of I Love Lucy, Coach Prime, you got some work to do. You got some work to do there. Yes, you do. You do, bro. And while it was once Camelot for a season or two, I think the shine may be dimming off. Now, again, things could change. But this seems an enormous bill for that program to swallow as they're trying to move up to a tougher conference in the Pac-10. It is your boy, Professor G. MarkGray. It is OG Sports Rap on the network. And don't forget, you can find me on Substack at Sports Rap OG. But remember to download the mobile app, because we all we got. The NFL offseason continues, and it's doing it in a pretty big way right now. We've now begun to see the start of the remaking of rosters throughout the league right now as the new NFL season basically has started, at least as far as the front offices are concerned right now. So we had some tidbits to get to today. I think it's interesting to note right now that Kyler Murray was told today by the Arizona Cardinals that the team is going to release him next week. Very, very interesting. I mean, he's an undersized veteran quarterback. He can throw the rock. Is he a starter? I don't know. But, I mean, let's be real for a second. If you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers or somebody like that, and Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back, he's got to be one of those dudes that's at the top of your list. And again, it'll be interesting to see what Mike McCarthy's concepts are and how they play to the skill set of Kyler Murray. But you got to remember, this guy was the number 1 overall pick in the draft like 7 years ago. And he's still owed almost $37 million in guaranteed money and will be able to sign with any other team once he's released. Now, the problems in Arizona are not that solely of the quarterback. Let's be clear about that. Now, last year, I mean, let's be real serious about this. They've never really given that kid an offensive line. Last year, he only played in 5 games. Didn't even throw for 1,000 yards, but he was still, the touchdown to interception ratio, was still, 2-1. So, again, there's this fascinating with dudes like Jacoby Brissett. And I think that when it comes to backing up, Brissett is probably better as a backup starting pitchman in commercials about being a dude that, I mean, yeah, all right, but are you really that good? Still, he's coming off of a 3-14 season where his team, where he got hurt. And that certainly does reduce his potential value on an open market. And with almost $37 million that you're going to have to absorb in cap money, it's going to be interesting to see where this guy lands. It really is. Now, again, I think you can do a lot worse. There's some places that he may work to be a tremendous backup. Just something to think about as this season moves forward. Again, I like Kyler Murray. But then again, I'm partially baseball guy too, so it is what it is. Anyway, also from the realm of the NFL, it looks like the Indianapolis Colts have at least temporarily found their starting quarterback. They're going to buy into this Daniel Jones notion as he was transitioned today. So they opted to use the Colts, that is $37.8 million transition tag instead of the $43.9 million franchise tag. Let's be real for a second. This is banana. Salary cap of $300 million. And quarterbacks are going to command almost a tenth of it just by one position alone. Is it really that important now? I mean, can you still balance the teams? Now, granted, the great teams have that great signal caller. The teams that are irrelevant and not contending are dudes that are playing your Jacoby Brissetts and dudes like that. No offense to Geno Smith and the boys, but there's a reason that y'all are the backups in TV commercials too. Now, this Daniel Jones thing, okay, now look, give credit where credit is due. You can't judge him by the hot mess that was the New York Giants when he was there. I mean, and this is a dude that had to run for his life. And once he got up out of there, okay, once he got into a offense that had flow to it, right, or an adult who was calling plays, I mean, he showed up and really showed out last year. Consider, He was 8-2 through the first 10 games of the season before he tore his Achilles against Jacksonville. Now, after that, the Colts lost the last 7 games of the season, and they missed the playoffs for the 5th time in a row. Now, again, you don't want to ever be a part of a dubious record like this, because Indianapolis last year became the first team since the 95 Oakland Raiders to miss the playoffs after starting the season of 8-2. So you look at the tea leaves, and they're really simple. Jones threw 19 TD passes with only 8 interceptions. They say he runs too much, but those were big 164 yards and 5 TDs. He set career highs in passer rating, completion rate. Indianapolis was 5th in scoring before he went down. So in looking at the entire body of Daniel Jones' work, I don't think Indianapolis had a choice in this matter to do anything but re-sign, or at least put some kind of tag on him so you have some, market security about him for a few years. Because Indianapolis has always been saying that they're just a consistent quarterback away. And I don't know if Anthony Richardson can be that guy, especially now in Indianapolis. There may be a second coming to him, awaken him. He may have an epiphany in another place. But as it goes right now, for no uncertain terms whatsoever, if the Indianapolis Colts can keep Daniel Jones healthy, they may again, despite the charge of Jacksonville, the team to beat in the AFC South. And again, Richardson now is definitely been given the opportunity to seek a trade, and game on after that too. The Jets, they decided to put that franchise tag on Breece Hall, as well they should. Now, that should cure everything that they're talking about as it relates to potentially going after one of the big running backs in this year's draft. So you think if you put the franchise tag on Breece Hall, then you can look in another direction if you're a Jets fan. Now, that direction could be any one of a number of different places. But I don't think it'll be offense. And to me, this would be the time for them to pluck them a young quarterback. But, the Jets just don't make any sense. I think they were put on the planet to cause their friends and families heartache and embarrassment. I mean, I'm serious, dude. They even the well thought out plans of mice and men cannot help that franchise. So they once again find themselves in a position where the time has come to get it right with the quarterback, and there are a number of them out there. Okay, if Ty Simpson's on the board, the Jets can't be cute about it. That's a guy that they should get. If he's the number 2 quarterback, let's see what's up. But that has been the hellhole where young quarterbacks go to die. It is what it is. And you got to believe it's going to be a real challenge for the Jets next year, because I think John Harbaugh can go in there and immediately put his thumbprint on the New York Giants, especially depending on what they do with that running back position. Goodness knows, I don't want to see Jeremiah Love in my division being a whiny Commanders apologist. Now, I would like to see him in the division in burgundy and gold, but a guy like that hooking up with John Harbaugh, and what he wants to do is run the football. I mean, let's be real for a second now. Again, that's what was the most frustrating thing about watching the Ravens and Todd Monken, when he wants to get too cute with Lamar Jackson instead of relying heavily on Derek Henry. Wow, I got caught up in this SEC video or something about one of those great Alabama backs, but I digress. So, where will the Jets go with their draft pick, or will they screw it up again? Because if there's two things that you can bank on during the offseason, is one, the Dallas Cowboys always winning the spring Super Bowl. I'm serious. It's defined by as many headlines, as many, talking head segments, and, bold predictions, former star heads working in the media, making apologies for them. You get all that kind of stuff. That's what we get from them. And that's why we hate them, really. I mean, if you just go ahead and just be quiet and suck, everything will be a better place. But you have to be loud, boisterous, arrogant, and suck. So here we go again. This is where we at. We're in another crossroads season for the Cowboys, where Jerry Jones has offered up, a bold prediction. We're going to spend some money. I got to win me a Super Bowl here and now. We'll be listening to them. And quite frankly, on paper, when you look at them, they're right there with the Eagles. It comes down to putting it together. And again, to me, I think that if you want to break it down by division, the most interesting division in the NFL is going to be the NFC East. Because you can make a compelling argument that, all right, there's a 1A and 1B with Philly and Dallas. Washington has dropped off. This will be a critical moment in the front office in D.C. for Adam Peters. He's got to fill some holes. They got to get an offensive tackle to protect Jaden Daniels. They got to get him a receiver. And you want, with all due respect to the kid Krosky Merritt, the bottom line is they got to find a back. They got to find somebody who can get them 3.5 yards per pop. And it's less about the offensive line, because they ran the football pretty decent last year. You can't take anything away from them now. That defense was putrid. But it is the most unique division in football. And we did see a couple of years ago that with Washington, with that last place schedule, they took full advantage of it. Things are going to get tougher for everybody else around the league. A couple tweaks, they may be back in it. But if the stuff hits the fan, then we could be talking new head coach, new front office executive, because they got to win with that new stadium going up in the district. It is OG Sports Wrap on the network and Substack. Thanks for hanging out with us. Remember, download the OG Sports Wrap home, the Sports Wrap Radio Network app. Remember, we all we got. All right, what's up, boys and girls? We rock on. It is OG Sports Wrap here on the network. Thank you for hanging out with me at this time. Don't forget, follow me at Sports Wrap OG on Substack. Posts go up perhaps multiple times daily, depending on how busy the day in sports is. Also, of course, you got to download that mobile app. You catch OG Sports Wrap whenever you want it. Sports Wrap Network. Make sure you keep in touch, and we'll make sure we keep you entertained. But I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to entertain you in the way that the Atlanta Hawks are now looking to entertain their fans. And it's kind of crazy. Now, again, I'm for innovative ways of getting fans into the stands, because no matter how bad your team is, you still got to put butts in seats in order to make it, a profit building franchise. But the Atlanta Hawks now have a bit of an unusual promotion planned for March 16th. That's right. There's a iconic cultural institution that the Hawks are planning a night filled with food, including the spot's famous lemon pepper wings. Of course, along with music and exclusive merchandise, according to the Associated Press. And of course, given that they're playing the Orlando Magic that night, it fits right in. That's right, boys and girls. The Magic City, the longtime strip bar, is now collaborating with an NBA franchise for a promotional night. What in the wide world of sports is going on here right now? I mean, this is crazy. Now, apparently there's supposed to be some kind of documentary called Magic City and American Fantasy that's going to explore the club's history and its place in both hip-hop and Black culture. Wait a minute now. As a Black person who tries to be cultured, I think Magic City Classics should be one of those things in our culture that we kind of keep in the basement. It should be like a select society. It's a freaking strip bar, okay? Can I say I frequented it? Yes. Have I enjoyed the entertainment there? Certainly. Are the chicken, the lemon pepper wings awesome? They are. They are. But here's the deal. If you're young and you single and you're fabulous, right? I can see you going to this game. But Magic City is not necessarily a place for a suburban family outing. Okay, let's be clear about this. I mean, Atlanta's got a lot of things to be proud of. The King Center, the Carter Center, and you can be proud of Magic City in that hood fashion way. And I'm all about it. Now, here the crazy thing about all of this is the pushback. And see, this is where you got to know the type of player that you're trying to bring into your fold. And Luke Cornett, who is anything but like a dude that you would see in the down and dirty South, right? He was one of the few players, and again, it should be noticed that this guy is I think he played, if I'm not mistaken, at the University of Tennessee. All right. Now, this dude who plays for the Spurs wrote, quote, "The game against the Orlando Magic would reflect poorly on us as an NBA community, specifically being complicit in the potential objectification and mistreatment of women in our society." He goes on to add, regardless of how a woman finds her way into the adult entertainment industry, many in this space experience abuse, harassment, and violence to which they should never be subjected. Now, noble gesture, but let's be clear about a few things. There are a lot of ladies who enjoy that line of work. It gives them a chance to satisfy their creative artist side in order to make a couple dollars. Okay? Now, I'm not saying I would marry one. I'm not saying that I would date one. But if that's a way for somebody, and you have to be licensed, so it is legal, to, practice a profession that his Christian values may be offended by. And I can get that. This is a Bible Belt. This is a Southern state. In many respects, I do think it's kind of tacky by the Hawks. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be judging, but there are bigger things at play here. And this is like the 59-year-old me as opposed to the 29-year-old me. Because the 29-year-old me would have been like, okay, let's just make sure this game doesn't go into overtime so I can go and get me some of those wings. Okay? Get your interview, write your story, find your wings. And it would be having to go all the way down the block from where the Omni was in order for you to, enjoy the perks that go with, adult entertainment. But again, that's adult entertainment themed at an NBA game. Now, again, I'm not trying to be some old prude, but if I'm taking my kid, and let's say my kid is somewhere between 10, 12 years old, let's make it 10 and 15, all right? You got to spend your time explaining what's going on, and I'm sure some of those live reads, I'm sure some of those exotic dresses, and again, I'm all in for the exotic dress. Make no mistake about it. I will go to an event like that if I'm with the fellas with eyes wide open. But you can't do that with your kids, okay? You can't. You can have a million and one other promotions. If you thinking down those lines of, basically pole stripper night in the NBA, and that's what it is. And again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that you got to consider that that's an adult entertainment thing. The NBA is supposed to be family entertainment. I hate to sound like a conservative white dude from middle America, but I would be very uncomfortable going to a basketball game on Magic City night with my family. That's a totally different way you handle things with your family and with your boys. So what you're saying is that night when they play the Orlando Magic, ironically, the land of Disney, they're going to have Magic City night. Unbelievable. And these are the people that I guess Danny Ferry brought in to come up with these ideas. I mean, have you just sold yourself just like, okay. And again, T.I., great idea. You were able to pull it off. Maybe I'm used to covering the Hawks back in the day where the front row was classy. You'd see, Jermaine Dupri. You see a young version of Little John, and heart goes out to him. I can't imagine what he's going through at this time in his life when his son passes away, apparently on an overdose of, hallucinogenic mushrooms. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But where's the character of the Atlanta Hawks organization? I mean, really, this move by, and real talk here, this is a move that kind of personifies that Real Housewife or Love and Hip Hop lifestyle in the ATL. It just goes to show you how the character and soul of a franchise and a city. And let's be clear, for as crazy and as way out there as Ted Turner was when he kind of built up sports and that media empire, there were certain values, and that would have never happened. And the Hawks dealt with some real corny promotions back in the day. But I just don't think it's appropriate to have a strip bar night at an NBA game. Hell, now we all know that when it comes to being one of the players, it could be a strip bar night every night without going to the strip bar. Strippers and basketball players. What a wonderful combination, unless you're in the basketball arena. Okay? Let's be clear. I begrudge nobody for wanting to get their frigga-diggy on. Okay? And as a matter of fact, as long as the two people are consenting adults and of age, I'm good with that. Heck, there are those of you who are into groups of more than two. Fine, do your thing. It's in privacy. See, that's the way I look at the adult entertainment industry. That's your thing. You do it to yourself, with yourself, and keep it to yourself. No. There's no place for this, y'all. It's just not. And I know T.I. is the hype man of Atlanta right now, but this is a bad look. I remember the days of the Dirty South. Okay, it took me a while to buy into that, but I much rather do this. This is no longer the Dirty South. You know what this is? This is the tacky South. Okay, and I do still consider myself a Southern boy, and that's embarrassing even to me. It really is. And I can't believe, I would have loved to have sat in a room with the promotion direct team and see how they pitched that, to their bosses. Hey, T.I. is called, and he wants to do a Magic City night at the basketball games, and they're going to sell 2 different flavors of the wings. Oh, hey, you had me at Magic City and lemon pepper wings. But an entire night to celebrate on the shoulders of the NBA? Damn, you must be having trouble giving away tickets down there, Hawks Nation. I mean, you already shipped the only person that was worth watching on your team, Trae Young, to Washington. And now you're still trying to, backdoor people into the game. There are 1,000,001 things that can go wrong with this. 1,000,001 times 1. And I don't see what it's worth. I really don't. And you're trying to pay homage to an iconic place in Atlanta? Yeah. Magic City's iconic because you watching strippers. Okay? I didn't know that would be something in my lifetime that I would ever see we celebrated. It was supposed to be, dudes' dirty secrets. Nice damn generation coming out there and putting everything on the blast. Wow. What next? Massage parlor night? Full body naked massages on the mezzanine? I mean, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? And then you put us in a position where if you're a parent and you got a kid, you got to explain that. Or are we just going to start having like movie rating nights in the NBA? You know what I'm saying? A night like this would definitely be R bordering on X. What are the rest of the nights going to be? PG related? The Chicago Bulls are coming down, and they'll be in a PG mode, and we'll only have somebody from a random strip shop. It opens up Pandora's box, and I think I want to get out of here on that. That's going to do it for OG Sports Rap on the network. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's your boy, Professor G. MarkGray. Remember, download the Sports Rap Radio Network app, because we all we got, and subscribe to me at Sports Rap OG on Substack. Till next time, holla at your boy. Barbershop's now closed. Holla at you in 42 hours. Deuces.